flying solo tonight. More of a recap show. Actually, I filmed something earlier today with a bunch of new GolfCask members. They are all very new to whiskey. So I took them through a whiskey tasting thinking I was going to use that for tonight's show, and it would have taken a lot of editing. So I went ahead and decided we'll go ahead and go live tonight with this. And I'm going to kind of walk through what we talked about there, talk about some really cool things coming up, and this will be a short one tonight. So hang on for a quick ride. So what we're going to do, or what's been going on, last week was a blast. Last Friday, Bo Hammond joined me, and we went to Richmond on Friday, and we were able to go to Hilltop Distillery, where I got a single malt that's pretty good, a 4-year-old single malt. We went to Three Crosses, got their dark rye. Absolutely enjoyed my time at both, but the Three Crosses was a wonderful outing. And actually, they're going to be highlighted in our magazine coming up in June 1, GolfCask Live. They'll be the distiller that is going to be highlighted. Michelle and John spent a good hour and a half with us, showed us everything they had to offer inside of Three Crosses, and it was a great experience. So we're going to bring that to you, a full expose on that, as well as you get inside the ropes. We've already written a short kind of certification piece as well. So be on the lookout out for June. And then on Sunday, I exchanged Bo for Eddie. Just can't take that much Bo. And so Eddie and I went to Friday, sorry. Two distilleries, but we also went to Big McCormick whiskey bar inside Richmond. Fabulous whiskey bar if you're in the Richmond area. By my calculations, just by doing the math, assuming how many bottles on there, I'd say close to $200,000 on the wall of different whiskeys. You name it, it's pretty much there. Their only slowdown is it has to be whiskeys that can be obtained through Virginia ABC. So that does slow down what he has to offer, but had about 8 to 10 different barrel picks, pretty much had every whiskey that you would ask for. And we had dinner there and good drinks. So that was fun as well. I think I just released that article today. So if you go inside the ropes, it talks about that as well. So that was Friday. Again, Sunday I replaced Bo, and Eddie and I started in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So we went to Northern Virginia. Fredericksburg's, I guess, Northern Virginia now. The creep of DC coming south, right? So we were able to go to Rebellion Whiskey Bar in Fredericksburg. We had lunch and a cocktail, and then we headed over to Bowman's, right there in town. Really, really cool setup. Didn't tour. I've been on so many whiskey tours. Tours to me kind of get a little boring at times. So we didn't tour, but we did catch the tasting at the end of the tour, and we were able to taste their rum, their small batch, their Isaac port, and then the final thing we had was actually their cream bourbon. And the cream bourbon actually was, my family likes Baileys, so I bought them cream bourbon to replace the Baileys. So we did have a purchase there, but you can see, again, I have John Bowman's single barrel already. I do have the Isaacs over there as well. So we spent a little bit of time in Bowman's, and then we headed up the road to Manassas, Virginia, about 35 miles north, and we went to KO Distillery. KO is very noticeable because they have the bare knuckle labels, so they have all the different bare knuckle fighters from the early 1900s. And the really cool thing about KO is they have a vast supply of offerings. So they have, like I said, we have cask strengths, they have wheated, they have rye, they have high rye, you name it. So they have a vast selection, and most of the distillant they make themselves. Some of it is actually MGP, but overall they make most of their distillant, and they make a lot of distillant for the state, a bunch of other distillers as well. There was one distiller from Northern Virginia that was in there, and they were talking about their distillant and how great it was, and some funny stories about the bourbon stewards from KO going to different places out Virginia and taking a sip of their whiskey and go, man, this tastes a whole lot like ours. And a lot of those distilleries goes, it should, because it's your distillant. So really fun stories there, but overall KO was quite enjoyable. The bartending staff was wonderful. I did a flight. Eddie did a flight and a cocktail. Overall, just a fun afternoon. So the cool thing is all of those will be coming out here over the next couple of weeks with certifications. So if you do go into the maps inside GolfCask, you'll see all the certification pieces there. And again, all these pieces are being released as write-ups coming out over the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of where we've been and what's been going on. Today's show, what we're going to talk about, and this is kind of from the morning group, is I had a bunch of golfers that they drink whiskey like shots. So I had a group of 6 guys and gals that I took through a tasting. And I'm just going to go through the proper steps of how to taste a whiskey if you don't know how up to this point. Again, for a lot of you, this is secondary. Don't need to pay attention to it. But again, if you're new to whiskey inside a GolfCask, I don't know when you're actually going to watch this video. You know, you might log in here in another 6 months and see this video and think it's great. So let's dive in here. First thing I'm going to do is drink a little bit of water. Clear my palate because I've been doing a bunch of tastings today. So it's good to go ahead and clear that out. I'm going to start with makers. I was thinking about doing a Virginia whiskey since we just did a whole Virginia whiskey tour. But for a lot of people out there, makers, I think, is a great introduction whiskey. It's cheap. It's good quality. It's sweet. It's going to give you a lot of those notes that a lot of people, when they think of bourbon, they'll think that way. So we're just going to pour a little bit of makers in here. And again, a good starting whiskey. So people always ask me what's some good starting whiskeys. I would say Makers is really good. Elijah Craig, Woodford. And again, they're going to give you a different spectrum. So Makers is going to be a little bit sweet, a little vanilla. Woodford's going to give you a little bit, and Elijah Craig is going to give you that sweet caramel in the beginning, but it's going to give you some of that spice, some of that rye notes behind. Evan Williams, there it is over here. Evan Williams Bottle and Bonded, I think, is a really good introduction whiskey. If you were looking for a little bit higher proof, because that is Bottle and Bonded, there's also Wild Turkey 101. One of my favorites is Redwood Empire. I think is a good bourbon to start out with. Again, price point is very low. And, of course, Mitcher's Over My Shoulder is another good starter whiskey. And, again, when I'm talking starter whiskeys, I'm inside of this group, we're looking more on the bourbon side. Of course, there are rye whiskeys, there's malted whiskeys, and all that great stuff. But, again, the group I had today was all about the bourbon. So the first thing you want to do when you taste is you want to just swirl the glass slightly, kind of get some aromatics going. It's not like wine. You know, we're not aerating it for whatever reason that winos do it. But for us, we just want to kind of get the alcohol swirling around, get some evaporation, some vapors going. Look at the color. Maker's Mark doesn't age to a year. They age to taste, but their age is usually right around 6 to 7 years from everything that I've read online. So again, the darker the color, the longer in the barrel, usually. Now, depending on type of corn and whatnot, goofiness, they can change the color. So we're looking for color, and then we're kind of getting the alcohol vapors moving in there. And then we want to nose it. So we do want to try to start to figure out notes by nosing or sticking our nose in the glass. There's 2 ways to do it. You can keep your mouth shut, which I don't recommend, and you can play the distance game. How close do I want the actual whiskey to be to my nose? The danger is if you put your nose inside a high ethanol whiskey or any kind of spirit, then you take a big smell in, it'll blow up your olfactory system. It'll just kill off your ability to nose. So I definitely do not recommend sticking your nose in and taking a deep breath. So there is the distance game. It's a way to do it. I don't really find it to be the most effective. What I like to do is open my mouth slightly, stick my nose all up in that glass, and as long as my mouth is open, that protects the olfactory. But what also happens is you get a little reflux. As you breathe it in, it'll actually go over your taste buds, that air, and you actually start to kind of wake up your taste buds. But what you do have to remember is taste is really about 80% smell. So the aromas that you pick up will really influence what you taste. So taste, nosing is really, really important. So again, open our mouth slightly, stick our nose in, and take a deep breath. And you want to change the angle, swirl it around a little bit. Do it again. And what do you smell? For Maker's Mark, you're going to get really sweet. You're going to get vanilla. You're going to get caramel. So this is a high wheat whiskey. So to be a bourbon, 51% has to be corn. It has to be bottled at 80 proof. It has to be made in America. It has to have 51% corn. It has to be come off the still less than 160 ABV, and it can be barreled at 125 or less. Those are the rules. And it has to be aged in an oak container. When you think container, you're thinking oak barrel, new oak barrel. Those are kind of the rules of bourbon. So this definitely is 51% corn, second grain. So when you start to hear a wheated bourbon or a rye or a high rye bourbon, that means the second grain would be either wheat or rye. And if it's high, that means that that percentage is up there really, really high. So this is a high rye wheat. So this is a high wheat bourbon. So corn number one, high amount of wheat number two, and then almost all whiskeys have barley inside the recipe or malted barley because it's great for the creation of enzymes needed for fermentation. We can talk about that in the future, but just understand that when you hear high rye or wheated bourbon, that means the second grain supporting the bourbon, supporting the corn is this one is wheated. So because now think of wheat. What do you think of wheat? Wheat, I think of breads. I think of pastries. I think of donuts. I'm thinking kind of along that line. So that wheated nose is going to give you a lot of that. When I think of corn, what do I think of? I think of sweet. Again, corn syrup, corn, I'm thinking of sugar. So when you get a high wheat, high corn mash bill, you're probably going to be thinking sweeter bourbons, typically. And then they put it in a barrel, and that's where you're going to start pulling the vanilla notes, the caramel notes, those components. But again, a lot of times when you go corn and wheat together, you're going to get a sweeter whiskey. A lot of whiskeys, Weller's, Nulu, Makers, Pappy, Old Fitzgerald. There's a lot of wheated whiskey, so there's a lot of them on the market, and a lot of people really enjoy Larceny, kind of an entry level. But again, that's kind of what it is. So we're going to nose again. Again, I'm getting so much sweetness, tons of vanilla. It's kind of just, those are the two main things I'm pulling from this. So once we get our nose, once we're satisfied with that, we're going to do a tasting. But inside a GolfCask, what do we do before every tasting? That's right. We always tap our glass twice. An ancient Irish proverb, the reason you do that is so you want to scare away the evil spirits and enhance the spirits that are in the glass, right? So the double tap, again, is just kind of a folklore that we run with here inside a GolfCask. Once you do that, cheers, and let's have a sip. Nice. Ooh. Maker's a little warmer than I remembered. So your first sip is always little. What you want to do is take a tiny sip, swish it around about 5 to 10 seconds. And again, what you're trying to do is shock the system lightly. So yes, we're drinking a high proof spirit. This is at 90 proof. So it does have a little bit of ethanol to it. So since we are drinking a high proof whiskey, that first sip, we're not really looking for a ton of flavors. What we're looking for is just kind of to wake the system up. We don't want to override it with a big gulp or take a shot. Not what we're doing. Tiny sip, swish it around, swallow it. And then what happens is every sip after that, it gets just a little bit better. So the hug, the burn will kind of go away, and you'll start to be able to pull those flavors. So now, second sip, let's see what kind of flavors we can pull. Much nicer second sip, right? Still a little bit of hug, a little bit of burn going down, but disproportionately less. And I got a vanilla bomb. I'm like, man, it's vanilla through and through. Getting some caramel sweetness. Definitely cooked sugar, right? So you can think of refined sugar. You can think of a caramels, butterscotches, toffees that are kind of like cooked on the stovetop. This is kind of giving me that buttery sweet. So I'm thinking caramel to possibly a little bit of butterscotch, but I'm getting tons of sweetness, tons of vanilla, and a little oak kind of hiding back in the background a little bit. So let's go third sip. Should be even easier to sip on, even easier to taste. Now Maker's is a good sipping whiskey. The hug is gone. Now I'm just getting the flavors of sweet vanilla. It's a good entry whiskey. Easy to find, easy to drink. Can you get much better than that? Finish, pretty short. A little bit of dry mouth. Let's do one more sip and focus on the very finish of the drink. Definitely keep that sweetness through and through. I get a little bit of baking spice, which is cool. I'm getting a little bit of spiciness, a little warm hug, but it's tiny. So I would say when we're talking about finish, that's after you've finished drinking it down, right? You swallow it. The finish is kind of what do you get at the end, right? As your mouth opens up, what do you get? And again, we get sweet, vanilla. So the sweetness in the vanilla goes from the nose all the way to the finish. The finish is short, dry, sweet, and vanilla as well. A little bit of oakiness. But again, overall, Maker's Mark for an entry-level whiskey gives you good flavors, but doesn't give you a ton of complexity, right? So I'm not getting layer after layer after layer. I'm not getting different flavors throughout the whole thing. Pretty much that caramel and that vanilla holds up through and through. But again, to me, it is a great starter whiskey. And then what we can do is we can take some water. So I have a dropper over here. And then I'm just going to take 1 or 2 little drops of water and see what that does to the whiskey. It might open it up. So sometimes you'll hear when people add water or ice, the whiskey opens up. And sometimes it actually closes it off, makes it taste a little less good. I've had both. But overall, usually what the water will do is it's going to proof it down a little bit. So higher proof whiskeys, you can add water or ice, and that can make them a little bit easier to drink. But again, we add a little bit of water to Makers to see what happens. By the nose has changed a little bit. I'm getting like a floral fruitiness that I didn't get earlier. So, cheers. Interesting. Still getting the sweet. I'm getting a little bit more peppery and a little bit more fruitiness than I did in the earlier vanilla bomb. The vanilla's there, but less. The sugar's there, but less. The burn has actually gone up slightly. Interesting. Now let's pay attention to the finish. Finish got really short, really quick. Not much to it. So you can see adding water can either enhance or take away. For this, I would say, I don't think it did a ton. It did unlock a little bit of fruitiness. But overall, I would say the experience is pretty much the same. But again, don't be ashamed to try a couple drops of water. That is what whiskey is designed to be a lot of times. Add a little bit of water to create that. Add an ice cube. Ice cube's going to, add water slowly over time, and it's going to dilute it more and more. Some people like that, some don't. But hey, give it a shot. Water can help. So to me, that is kind of a good tasting. And then from that, what we really want to do is just say, what are some of the cool pieces that I can remember? Vanilla, caramel, sugar, corn, oak. Start to get those pieces. So what's really cool is you might have tasted something and you can't put your finger on it. Like there was a flavor there, but I don't know what it is. For you to truly understand the flavor, you got to be able to put a memory to it. So like when I think of vanilla, I think of as a kid with the ice cream, you know, the old hand crank ice cream machines. You know, you put it in the Epsom salts or whatever on the outside, and you sat there and churned on a handle for hours to make vanilla ice cream. But that smell of vanilla, I mean, it takes me back to a kid. So anytime I nose a whiskey that's got a lot of vanilla, it's really easy for me to place that vanilla smell. Now, if you don't have that history or that understanding, it's hard to place that. So what you need to do, and what I really like to do for beginners, is go have a pour or two with a friend that is pretty much into the whiskey world, like really enjoys whiskey, does really good at nosing, and then have them nose and taste with you, and then ask them, here's what I get. What do you get? And they'd be like, yeah, I can see this and this, but I'm also pulling this piece or that piece. And you're like, oh, dark cherry, I didn't even think of that, or plum, or you name it. You're right. Because again, if you don't kind of have that idea or that memory to be able to put the actual flavor to it, the nose and the taste flavor, that it just eludes you. So actually tasting with a friend that's pretty good at it, or get a bunch of friends together that can taste what they and kind of bark out what they taste. Like my wife and daughter have much better palates than I do. So I defer to them all the time when we're doing a tasting. What do you get? Like I get XYZ, and they'll say, I get this and this, or some banana bread, or I get whatever those components are, where a lot of times I don't pick those up per se. I'm more of a Neanderthal. Me like, me no like. But again, that's an option. So to me overall, bourbon, corn, vanilla, sweet, makers, very friendly. Great place to start your whiskey journey. And like I said, I would look at Elijah Craig. I would look at Woodford. I would look at Wild Turkey 101 if you want to up your proof a little bit. Evan Williams, Bottle and Bonded, all real, and again, Redwood Empire would all be great entry whiskeys. All would have a little bit different flavors, a little bit different components that make it up. So you really start to expand your base and understanding what American bourbons taste like. And then, of course, you have Irish whiskeys, you have Scotch, you have Canadian, you have Japanese, you have rye. Man, you are just starting to nudge the world of whiskey, and I wish you the best on your journey. And I would love to pull up a chair next to you one day and do a tasting with you. So again, if you're in the Charlottesville area, let us know, and we'll we have events going all the time. Come on by, and we'd love to hang out and enjoy a pour and play some golf. So I'm going to wrap this show up again. I told you this is going to be a quick one tonight. Be on the lookout. June 1st. Well, you'll have us next week with Dr. Mike, and Chris George will be in. So remember, June 1st, our new magazine's coming out. If you have not joined GolfCask.com up to this point, you need to. That's the only way that you'll get the magazine delivered to your email. If you have not joined, please do. If you have, be on the lookout for that, and please share with friends. Also, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on our socials, yada, yada, yada. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But overall, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Sorry I couldn't show the earlier whiskey tasting that we did. Like I said, there would have been a lot of beeping going on in it. But it was a fun time with a bunch of new GolfCask members, which I appreciate. And this has by far been our best month for people signing up. So, hey, keep signing up. Keep pushing out to your friends. And keep looking for us to be in your neighborhood and enjoy a pour with us. Cheers. Thank you, and see you next Wednesday for Bottle Share Between the Ears. Cheers. That's nice.